Good afternoon, I'm Rob Boskamp, and you're listening to South Texas Midday. Happy fall and happy Monday. It's September 22nd. Residents on the southwest side of Portland were forced to evacuate Friday after a gas leak. City officials said crews with Sulphur River Exploration, Inc. were performing routine maintenance at its natural gas well site on the 200 block of Sunset Drive when a malfunction caused a leak. KRAS 6 News reported the minor leak had crews working under Railroad Commission oversight to control it. The evacuation was eventually expanded to 1,000 feet of the well site in Sunset Lake Park. The notice was lifted yesterday for residents in the area. More repairs are expected today, but officials have said it's safe for residents to return to their homes. Corpus Christi City Council meets tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Several ordinances on the agenda include awarding a Defensive Economic Adjustment Assistance Grant for the Naval Air Station CC Perimeter Fence Grant project. They will also vote to authorize an amendment to the agreement with Padre Isles Property Owners Association for improvements and ongoing maintenance to Don and Sandy Billish Park. It will update maintenance obligations by the city and allow the association to drill and construct 4 water wells for irrigation purposes. Officials will also vote to appropriate a grant of $557,000 for airport improvements, as well as amend the fiscal year 2025 capital budget. Full agenda and public comment session signups are available online at corpuschristitx.gov. 4 schools in Hidalgo County are reporting cases of hand, foot, and mouth disease. KRGV reports health officials have confirmed 60 cases so far.
Hand, foot, and mouth disease is a contagious viral infection that typically affects children, mostly younger children under the age of 5.
That was Dr. Naomi Diacolatsi, DHR Health Family Medicine Residency Program Director. She spoke to KRGV and said the names of the schools have not been released due to privacy reasons. They are considering this to be an outbreak and are monitoring closely. The disease spreads easily through touch and is commonly spread at schools and daycares. Meanwhile, in Seadrift, the city secretary position is possibly vacant again after Wendell Netzer announced her resignation during a special meeting last Thursday. 25 News Now reports that Netzer submitted her resignation letter the week prior due to concerns for her safety. She said there were residents that made her feel uneasy as she worked to fulfill over 100 records requests and reorganize an office that had been vacant since former Secretary Gabriela Torres' departure back in May. Netzer's resignation was discussed during an agenda item for an agreement with the city and an employment contractor that would take over the hiring process for both the new secretary and recently vacated public works director positions. Also in Seadrift, a 64-year-old man is blaming officials after losing 2 toes in a lawnmower incident. It happened last week after he tried to mow the grass in the ditch in front of his home, something he said the city is not maintained despite it being city property. While mowing, he slipped and fell into the ditch. His foot went into the running lawnmower, causing significant damage and removing 2 of his toes, according to a social media post. In the resulting discussion by Seadrift residents, many complained of construction they claimed was not up to code. 25 News Now has reached out to Lynn Engineering, the company over Seadrift's civil engineering, as well as the city itself. In state news, the Texas Secretary of State's office has signed agreements with 9 other Republican states to share voter registration data. Houston Public Media's Andrew Schneider reports the move comes less than a year after Texas withdrew from a much broader multi-state compact designed to combat potential voter fraud.
Texas withdrew from the Electronic Registration Information Center, or ERIC, last October. At its height, ERIC had 31 member states plus the District of Columbia. Daniel Griffith, Senior Director of Policy for Secure Democracy USA, says the bilateral compacts are likely to be less effective at cleaning voter rolls of ineligible voters.
The more states with whom you're sharing information, the more folks that you're going to potentially capture in terms of those who might be doubly registered, in terms of folks who might need to be removed for ineligibility.
Texas left ERIC amid unsubstantiated GOP claims that the organization was being used to promote Democratic voter registration at Republicans' expense. I'm Andrew Schneider in Houston.
Last week, the CDC's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices voted to no longer recommend the MMRV vaccine, a combination shot for measles, mumps, rubella, and varicella for children under the age of 4. KTTZ's Samantha Larned spoke with a public official who spent the first 8 months of the year dealing with a regional measles outbreak.
From January to August, the state of Texas saw 762 confirmed measles cases connected with the West Texas outbreak. 2/3 of those cases were in children, and 2 young unvaccinated children died of the virus. Dr. Catherine Wells is the director of Lubbock Public Health, a major coordinator during the outbreak. She says that while the MMR and chickenpox vaccines remain as separate recommendations for children, parents will have fewer choices when it comes to approaching their child's care.
Here in West Texas, we saw the impact of what happens when we have large unvaccinated populations. And in Texas, vaccines very much a choice, but we want to make sure that we have all those tools available so that parents can make those choices.
Wells says that recommendations from the committee impact what health providers carry, what insurance will cover, and what's available through the Vaccines for Children program. The VFC program provides vaccines for more than 50% of Lubbock County children. I'm Samantha Larned in Lubbock.
8 more families of 9 people killed and 4 survivors have joined a lawsuit filed last month against an RV resort and campground in relation to the July 4th flooding on the Upper Guadalupe River. Texas Public Radio's Steve Short has the details.
An updated civil complaint filed on Wednesday accuses HTR Texas Hill Country campground owners, operators, and general manager of negligence and gross negligence. It contends they acted with flagrant and malicious disregard for the victim's well-being. The plaintiffs are seeking more than $1 million in damages. A spokesperson for the resort said, quote, "We continue to reject the lawsuit's fundamental premise and will be prepared to vigorously defend ourselves in court." I'm Steve Short in San Antonio.
Republicans in Texas are reflecting the party's broader shift on free speech. A few years ago, Texas passed a law seeking to prevent social media companies from screening the posts of people based on their politics. Now, Governor Abbott is going the other way, urging schools to punish students for what they say about the murder of activist Charlie Kirk. The Texas Newsroom's Lucio Vasquez reports.
At Texas Tech University last week, a student wearing a Make America Great Again cap stood on campus holding a sign that read "R.I.P. Charlie." This caught the attention of another student who swiped at his hat and repeatedly shouted, "Your homie dead," before she was arrested for assault. Days later, a Texas State University student introduced himself as Charlie Kirk before a crowd and mockingly slapped his hand against his neck before collapsing. Video clips of both incidents have garnered millions of views. Texas Governor Greg Abbott took to social media to condemn the two students.
Whenever we see students who are celebrating an assassination, that goes beyond the bounds of what is humane.
In both cases, the governor called for students to be punished. And hours later, Texas state officials confirmed in a statement that the student seen in the video was no longer enrolled. As for the Texas Tech student, the school says it can't legally disclose matters related to student conduct. Abbott has also called for the firing of teachers who've made online comments about Kirk's killing. Across the state, several teachers have faced discipline.
To the extent that there's any punishment based solely on someone's speech or expression, that's when we start having a problem.
That's Haley Gluhanich with the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, or FIRE.
The First Amendment makes it very, very clear. Offensive speech is protected, hateful speech is protected, poorly timed speech, distasteful speech.
Gluhanich says inciting violence is not constitutionally protected, but she believes that many of these statements from students and teachers do not rise to the level of true threats and are protected by the First Amendment. She says the fallout may cause others to self-censor out of fear of retaliation.
They are going to think, oh crap, someone's getting investigated or in trouble for speaking their mind. I better not say what I want to say.
The Texas Education Agency says they've received hundreds of complaints over the last week about public school teachers who allegedly commented on the shooting. I'm Lucio Vasquez in Houston.
The McMullen County ISD Board met last week to focus on safety initiatives and ongoing construction projects. Trustees also reviewed the district's $5.5 million fund balance. The balance and accounts, unchanged from last year, were approved as designated. Also noted was the district's return of more than $22 million to the state through the recapture system. According to South Texas News' The Progress, Principal Joe Timms reported that students continue to excel in extracurriculars, crediting the FFA, volleyball, and track programs. Superintendent Jason Jones updated the board on the district's Safety and Security Committee. Construction updates included new road signage around campus and improvements to parking areas and other facilities such as the gym and agricultural buildings. A 24-acre park will be built in Brownsville behind the Walmart on Boca Chica Boulevard. KRGV reports the project has been in the works for months. Commissioner Linda Macias said about 60 people gave feedback on 3 different park concepts. There is no timeline for the project yet, but officials said it will be completed in 3 phases. In sports, the Texas A&M Kingsville football team could not break a tie with number 11 UT Permian Basin as it fell 43-30 at Javelina Stadium on Saturday. Jack Turner found Kevin Holmes Jr. early in the fourth quarter for an 11-yard touchdown to get the Javelinas into a 23-23 tie. UTPB would later score 20 unanswered points to pull away. The Javelinas, now 0-1 in conference play, look to bounce back as they travel to Alpine to battle Sul Ross State this weekend. And UTRGV finished its inaugural football non-conference slate undefeated, improving to 4-0 with a 61-13 win over Texas Wesleyan at home on Saturday. 5 different running backs scored touchdowns for UTRGV. The Vaqueros are the second brand-new FCS program to start 4-0 in their inaugural season since 2008. UTRGV opens Southland Conference play this Saturday at Southeastern Louisiana, a team that is receiving votes in the FCS Coaches Poll. And that is the latest news and information on South Texas Midday. I'm Rob Boskamp. Your community arts calendar and more is on the way.